ram them. Alright, so when we have a look at her bow later on, you guys are going to notice that it's not shaped like a normal looking bow. Alright, it sticks out at the bottom, and that's the part that it would use to actually go up to the other ships and ram them with it. Now I'm sure you guys are wondering, well, how did this ship just end up here in Bermuda as a shipwreck? Alright, it did take quite a few steps to get to where it is right now. But the first reason why this ship turned out to be a complete failure is because they built her out of iron. Does anybody know what happens when you put iron into salt water? It's gonna rust, right? So then the British decided that they didn't want to be driving around in a rusty vessel, so they decided to clad this ship with 8-inch thick pieces of teak wood. Now, if you guys are familiar with teak wood, you know that it's a very heavy and very dense wood, so great for patio furniture during hurricanes here in Bermuda, but not so much in a 160-foot-long vessel that was trying to chase down other ships. So all this did was basically trap all of that salt water against the iron vessel. It caused her to rust even faster, and then it slowed down the ship because all that wood was so heavy. So at this point in time, the Vixen had a top speed of about 5 knots, alright, which is super slow. So they decided to add 2 masts and sails in hopes that this would speed her up. And it did, but only to about 8 knots, which was still not fast enough because all the other ships at the time were actually doing a solid 12 to 14 knots. So as you guys can see, the Vixen was not a very successful ramming vessel because she was so slow and she couldn't even catch up to any of the ships that she would try to ram. So the Queen pretty much deemed this ship to be a failure, and as she does with all of her failures, decided to send her down here to little old Bermuda. And she told us to use this ship as a coastal defense ship. However, I'm sure you guys have realized by now that here in Bermuda, we are surrounded by 180 square miles of coral reef that completely circumnavigate the island, alright? So not only was the Vixen super slow, but she couldn't even maneuver in and around our waters properly. Now luckily at the time, we were still going the road